Well, I'm here to talk about yesterday's game. Where can I start, man? It's 4 games, 4 points. Second defeat in the UCL this season. Fifth defeat in the UCL in 2024. The most in PSG history in one calendar year. Just get worse and worse and worse. I'm not happy, with Lucho or any of the players. I mean, some players perform better than the others, but I mean, it was just not an acceptable performance. I'm still seeing people defend this and say, "Oh, but we had some chances. We didn't play good. We didn't play good." Sometimes you can play good. Sometimes you can play bad and have some chances. We look like Real Madrid, in my opinion, in the sense of where we don't play that well, but sometimes we do get some chances. Why? Because our players are so great. When you have Ashraf Hakimi, Osman Dembele, Bradley Barcola, Warren Zaire Emery, Nuno Mendes, all of these talented players, you are going to create chances. You can put me as the manager, all right? I can tell the players, no tactics, just play your football, and PSG would still create chances. So us creating chances is not, we will always create chances. When you have a talented roster like this, we have spent 800 million in the past 2 seasons. So us creating chances is the minimum. It's not the standard, it's the minimum. And it has nothing to do with the manager when most of the chances come from the opposition making mistakes, them being very open, and our players using crazy individual ability. What I'm looking at is when we have the ball from either our goal kick or our centre-backs has it, and Atletico is sitting deep. That's when I'm looking at Lucho, because that's where he's supposed to open up the game for us. We know what we struggled with under Luis Enrique. We've been struggling with the same thing ever since Luis Enrique came in. We want to be this possession side, having the ball the entire game, but we don't do anything with it. Who am I supposed to complain there? About the players? Am I supposed to blame the players? We've been doing this for 1.5 years now with different players. It's the same thing. We might as well just buy some other players and we will be doing the exact same thing, which once again points the fingers to Luis Enrique. We can talk about the clinicality. Hakimi could have done better. I mean, that's the opportunity that most people are talking about. Barcola had 2 good opportunities. Yeah, I mean, we definitely could have done better in front of goal, 100%. And I mean, Barcola is still young. He can improve on that. Osman Dembele, it's a bit more difficult, but I mean, he had a good game yesterday because Dembele can impact again in many more stuff. So him being not the best finisher is not the biggest problem for me. Another big problem is obviously the number 9 position. I mean, Asensio got hooked at minute 60 or something and had like 15 touches maybe. Was like playing with 10 men in this game. I mean, obviously it goes at Lucho, the false 9 gimmick that he wants to play. But it also goes, obviously, at Luis Campos. We lost Kylian Mbappe this summer, who contributed to around 50 to 60 goals for Paris Saint Germain in all competitions last season. And the only player we signed to somewhat have similar impact is Desiree Doué, an 18-year-old with 17 starts last season. So yeah, Luis Campos fucked this up in the summer. He made Lucho's job even harder, but Lucho somehow has managed to fuck up even more than Luis Campos. The 2 Luis brothers need to leave this club as soon as possible or start changing their way. Luis Enrique needs to adjust. As I recently had the live stream about it, the players are unhappy with Lucho for the 2nd time this season. My club is finally serious about Luis Enrique and saying that his future is not guaranteed. So I'm happy about that. But yeah. Something definitely has to change. I will once again bring up the same quote from Einstein himself. If a madman is someone that tries the same exact thing over and over again, expecting something different. And that's exactly what PSG feels like. If you watch the Girona game, if you watch the PSV game, and if you watch the Atletico Madrid game, all 3 UCL games at home, you will see every single game is pretty much the same thing. Lackluster first half, apart from Atletico where we had a good first 15 minutes, and then obviously we had 2 good chances versus PSV in the first half, but a very lackluster first half, lackluster first 15 minutes into the second half, and then we start pushing for the goal in the last 30 minutes of the game. That just doesn't work. It's not sustainable to play football like this. We have to be more courageous. We have to use more energy. We have to press higher. We have to create more. We have to be dangerous. And we have to be less unpredictable. That's exactly what we were complaining on yesterday's podcast. And now the PSG players are complaining about the same thing. They feel we're sterile. They feel we're unpredictable. And that's exactly what PSG are. If I'm an Atletico Madrid player or any opposition player that is going to face PSG, I know it's going to be a calm day at the office because Paris Saint Germain are not threatening. And that's not because of the ability and the players that we have. Rather, it's because of the formation, the tactics, how Lucho is setting us up, and how he wants us to play football. I will once again bring up the Barcelona example. Last season to this season, Barca, only two differences. Dani Olmo was signed and Marc Casado was brought up from the academy. And Barca looked like an entirely different team, mostly because of one main reason, and that is Hansi Flick. It's not just his tactics that differ from Xavi, but it's also the mentality he's brought to the club. Luis Enrique, after all of these embarrassing results and performances in the Champions League, comes out and says, I'm happy, we were unlucky. In 30 years of management, I've never been this unlucky. We deserve to win. The opponent wasn't good. Basically moving like a child on Twitter. That's exactly what Luis Enrique is doing. He's not taking any accountability or responsibility for the failure that he has. When we had Neymar, Verratti, and Mbappe, I didn't blame that much on the manager. Why? Because we relied on individual ability. Okay, and that wasn't a problem. I enjoyed that. Now it's a different time. It's not individual ability that carries us anymore. Rather, it's the manager system. Luis Enrique has the most power any manager has had at Paris Saint Germain history. So he's the one mostly responsible and accountable for Paris Saint Germain when they succeed and when they fail. Now we're failing, and Luis Enrique has to take brunt of the blunt because that's how it is. It's that simple. His system is just not good enough. Players want to complain about the players that we have. Yes, Campos should have had a much better transfer window. We should have a better, more competitive squad. But us being this bad versus Girona, PSV, a dead Atletico side is completely unacceptable. The game is obviously put behind us now. I'm going to look forward for the Angers game. Try to end this period on a good note, go into the international break, and let's see what happens after that. Because we talked about this period being very crucial for this season. Next period is even more crucial because we didn't get the job done. We didn't beat PSV and we didn't beat Atletico. We drew to PSV and we lost Atletico. Next two UCL games is versus Salzburg and Bayern, both away. We have to pick up at least 3 points. I mean, I don't want to lose to Bayern. I don't predict we'll lose to Bayern. But if we lose to Bayern, but then beat Salzburg, we're still going good when it comes to qualifying for the next rounds, but this has to stop, man. This genuinely has to stop. That's been it from boy PS Gent for my thoughts about last night. And as usual, allez, Paris.